Well, we did it. We made it. Congratulations, everybody who has stuck it out with this team through a dismal start to 2019, to the Zach Taylor regime, and to the post Marvin Lewis era. We got to win, baby. It took a while. They're already out of the playoffs, but Zach Taylor and staff got that coveted first win. Now, I think a lot of people are really, really hung up and really worried about draft position. But man, winning is important, and the draft is important as well. But those things tend to take care of themselves, and we'll talk about that in a second. But man, winning is important. You can't go 0-16. You can't not learn some of these lessons. You got to win. So I am Matt Minich. This is Chalk Talk on Orange and Black Insider. Glad to be here. Glad to have happy news, good tidings as we enter the holiday season. And to be able to talk about a win. Again, winning is important. I've got a piece out for Cincy Jungle this week on just that. The draft is important. Yes, absolutely. But winning is important as well. And I think we're all concerned about draft position, but other lessons need to be learned. The players who are here need to be cultivated. They need to be groomed. They need to be taught. Really, it needs to be a cultural shift to running like a winning organization, to doing everything every day to win. And you can't do that by losing straight. Sometimes losing games can help you because it exposes you. It's picking up the rock and seeing all the weird, gooey, squirming little things that are underneath. Because winning games can disguise all the mistakes that were made. But when you start to do things right, you need to be rewarded. And habits don't form without reward. So that's the old psychology professor in me. And so you got to win. That stuff's important. Now, let's talk about Joe Burrow, all right? And that's the concern. I get it. People are wary about winning. You shouldn't be. It's your team. Cheer for them to win, baby. Come on. But, the Bengals have to win. They have to do this stuff to get better, and they have to count on everything else to work out. You got to have faith, and maybe you got to move and do something in the draft to get the guy you want. But it's just like if you're competing for a playoff spot and your destiny is not in your own hands. You do not control your own destiny. You can't focus on all the other junk going on. You got to win your games. It's the same thing here. All right. You need a quarterback. Cool. You got to figure some other stuff out too, though. And you got to have faith that the Giants and the Redskins and teams like that, they're gonna pull off a couple here at the end too, and hopefully all will be well. Because I'll tell you what, the Bengals need to win one more game this year. I want to see at least one more win out of this group. Look, we all want Joe Burrow. All right, for the most part, people want Joe Burrow. That's the fan favorite in Cincy. And look, he's good. He's good. And I think the thing about him is the way he creates, the way he can keep his eyes downfield, create plays when plays are not there. That is the biggest thing. That's the selling factor. He's got that Russell Wilson swag to him. And I love it. And those are the kind of quarterbacks I have always admired and always wanted to root for. But coaches need to win games too. All right. Quarterbacks need to get wins when they're not there to create them. Coaches need to be able to do that too. And that's what I really want to see out of these last 4 weeks from Zach Taylor. You know what? The Dolphins are fighting. They're competing. They've got some roster issues. But you know what? They ain't tanking either. All right. They're not tanking. So the Bengals, they're going to have a fight against that team. It's not going to be like it was last week. They play the Browns twice. Those are talented Browns teams. They've struggled, but those are talented teams. And obviously, the Patriots are still the flipping Patriots. So I want to see Zach Taylor really get it done and create a win. That's what I want. I want to see him do that this week. What can he do? How can he pull off one of these games? I want to see that out of this staff to help really build some confidence going into next year in this staff. Really get some buy-in out of the group moving forward. That's huge. That is something that this Bengals team sorely needs to be able to really rest something. Yeah, they like Taylor, but they're not going to like Taylor very long if he doesn't figure out how to make them win. He's got to do that. He's got to show that, and that's going to be huge for him and his staff moving forward if he can pull off one of those things. So you need a quarterback that can do those things. You need a coach that can do those things too. That's what I want to see out of these last few weeks. Now let's go back though and talk about the Jets. So excellent, excellent performance. By far from flawless, but look, the Bengals showed a lot of improvement, and they showed improvement in several ways. This week on Cincy Jungle, you will see my film room on the red zone offense. And that has been one of the worst things about this team this year is how their offense, when they're able to put together a drive, has stolen the red zone. Not this week. This week, they did some very good things. Came up with 2 for 3 getting touchdowns. Should have been 3 for 3 if not for a drop pass. So doing some good things. Running the ball well. Been in the last few weeks. My colleague, John Sheeran, broke that down on Cincy Jungle a few weeks back about how scheme changes have helped. They've found schemes in the running game, that are more appropriate, that work better for this offensive line. And over to the defense. So defensively, it has been a struggle, right? There have been, they're at the bottom of the league in most statistical categories for defense. But I think this is a group that, for its shortcomings, has a lot of fight in it. And we've seen them compete in games and then just have lapses that have cost them quite dearly. But this was a game where they really stepped up. Now, this Jets team, Le'Veon Bell at running back, and obviously we all know Bell quite well. Bell is not having a Le'Veon Bell type of season, and I don't know that that's necessarily 100% on Bell. He certainly doesn't have the type of offensive line he had in the past in Pittsburgh, but he's not having a great year. So for Bell, he's had his ups and downs, not having the best year, but definitely put together some good games. And I'm sure both he and head coach Adam Gase circled this one, thought, hey, this is a get right game. This is an opportunity. This rushing defense has struggled. We can get it done here. And we're probably expecting him to put up some numbers, but it was not to be. Bell 10 for 32. The Jets as a whole, 17 for 62. So this rushing defense stepped up. Now, obviously, the overall 62 yards rushing, game flow, and the Bengals taking a lead certainly has an impact on that. Compared to where they have played in tight games or played from behind a lot this season. So that plays a role in that, but still, do the math. 10 for 32. That's 3.2. That's getting it done in your running defense overall. So they stepped up, and linebackers have been a big part of the issue with this group, and really Nick Vigil has improved over the last couple of weeks. Jermaine Pratt is showing some improvement, getting more and more reps. He is taking a lot of heat. His Pro Football Focus rating is very, very bad, but for his shortcomings, he does some things good too. He is raw. He is super raw, right? He needs to work on quite a few things, but he's got a lot of potential too. And I've talked about him a few times. I've been a big backer of his. I've written about him a few other times on Cincy Jug. You can check that stuff out. No, he's not playing great right now, but he does have some potential. And they certainly need to see more out of him in the next 4 weeks before they can be confident in him as a starter moving forward. Good showing overall for the rushing defense in this game. And it started early. So with the with the Jets' first drive, they came out, they tried to get Bell the ball on a pass on first down. It was incomplete. And then on 2nd and 10, they came out and they ran the ball. So they came out in a tight look with a tight end and an H-back to the defense's right, and a tight receiver on that side as well. So real, pretty compact formation. Only really width on one side of the formation, and the Bengals countered with a lot of beef up front. They had Josh Topu as a 3 technique outside of the guard to the weak side. Andrew Billings as a 2-eye inside of the strong side guard, and Renell Wren as a 4-eye inside of the left tackle. All right, on the strong side. That's how they countered that. They had Hubbard over there as well inside of that H-back, and then Williams helping out on the edge. And then Dunlap was over on the weak side. Both Hubbard and Dunlap standing up, as we've seen, especially out of Hubbard, quite a bit this season. So, on this play, all right, Bell's lined up to the weak side. They have a mesh coming across. So initially, like you look at the backfield action, it looks like a zone read. All right, so you were anticipating a strong side run. But then there's some other things going on here. First of all, they are strongly, double teaming. So you get both the offensive linemen on that weak side blocking on Topu, really trying to bring him down and wash him down on the play. And then you get the center and the left guard double teaming on Billings. All right, so trying to get some movement right there. Now, the H-back swipes across the backfield, right? On the snap, he comes across, and his job is to kick out on Dunlap. Now, they've got a fake reverse action here as well. I think that they think that's going to hold Dunlap, but it's stupid. All right, it's way too slow. If the guy was coming in motion, maybe it would make Dunlap step out, but it doesn't. So Dunlap is able to, take on that block and keep that running lane tight and restricted onto the backers. So Vigil is on the weak side and Pratt is on the strong side. All right, so both step to the strong side right away. Now, Pratt sees that swiper and starts to work back. That takes him out of the strong side C gap. Now, because that guy is swiped across the formation, they have one less gap over there. So Hubbard's really holding the edge, and that allows Williams to slide into the C gap on the strong side, which allows Pratt to work back to the weak side. So Vigil and Pratt both scrape over the top and get in there, and together they are able to bring Bell to the ground. So, that play ends up going for 4 yards, a little bit more you'd like to see. We'd like to see a little bit faster, really a little bit more forward action out of the linebackers once they get going. They have to scrape across, but Bell is able to kind of lean forward and get a little bit too much on that play. But still, it's 4 yards on 2nd and 10, which that's 3rd and 6. Defense can live with 3rd and 6. All right, so later on that drive, the Jets had 2nd and 8 And again, a tighter formation, a bunch look. They end up motioning one guy across the formation. The Bengals in a four-man defensive front with Billings and Geno Atkins as the tackles. Now, Atkins is the tackle to the strong side. He's in a three technique outside of the guard, and Billings is in a 2-eye inside of the guard to the weak side. They run a ton stunt, a ton stunt. So not that they run a ton of stunts. All right, something I would call a ton stunt, and that's kind of I believe the Monty Kiffin terminology for it, and it's the tackle and nose, and it's not a cross or anything like that. Basically, they're switching gaps from what they align in. So Billings crosses face of the guard and gets into the B gap, and Atkins crosses face of the other guard and gets into the A gap. Now, this stinks for where the Jets are trying to hit the ball because they're really keeping it tight up that weak side A gap, and now Billings has vacated the gap. So that opens up an opportunity. You roll the dice on some of this stuff, and that was a rough one for the Bengals. So moving back to the linebackers, you got Pratt to the weak side, and you've got Vigil to the strong side. And Vigil is really aggressive. All right, sees the guard pulling around and attacks it. And takes that on. Now he is taking on the inside of the guard, which is where he should be. Pratt is too slow to react. He steps to the strong side. He's kind of hopping around. I really hate to see that because it's not very fast. You see a lot of backers do it, but they hop around. Their feet are real wide. I like to see like a little bit of a shorter read step and then get flowing. And once he makes his decision, he's got to go because he's kind of hopping around too when that guard gets in the hole. Now he really needs to attack the outside of that guard because that pulling guard, just like a fullback leading up or anything else in the hole, has created another gap. Pratt's got to fit to the outside of that. And he's just a little bit slow getting out there. And that allows Bell to pick up some additional yardage. Bell ends up plowing forward and being tough to take down, and gaining about 7 yards in the play. I think he probably could have been tackled by Pratt for 3 or 4. So you got to be a little bit faster there and a little bit better on that look. All right, so that brought us to 3rd and 1, and once again they went to Bell, and the Bengals countered. They got beefy. They went with a bear front with a TNT look, 2 threes, and a 0 technique, and they had Carl Lawson standing up on the weak side edge. They had Carlos Dunlap standing up on the strong side, lined up in the C gap with outside of him and the wing, Sean Williams. They had 2 backers technically with Pratt as the Mike and with Vigil as the Sam to the strong side just outside of Dunlap. So when this play gets started, I think the defensive line, getting a decent little push, everybody holding their gap, and really it's like a wedge play where everybody's kind of trying to come inside, and there are 2 open gaps, and those gaps start to fill, start to come open a little bit more as these players work to the inside, and you get the H-back blocking out on Sean Williams, the backside tight end blocking out on Carl Lawson. Gaps open up inside those 2 areas. Vigil is fast to fill on his open gap. Pratt is the Mike. He's lined up, really almost over the center to this, in the strong side A gap, a 10 strong. And he kind of gets sucked up in it. You want to see him be a scraper and be able to play both gaps. but he kind of gets sucked up in the mess of it. In that weak side gap, that's where the ball cuts to because Bell sees Vigil and cuts it back. Darquez Denard comes in, and he does a great job. He fills it. He gets in there, and he gets the hit on Bell, but once again, Bell's able to keep his feet moving when he gets hit, and he's able to fall forward for a yard and for the first down. So, didn't get the stop. It is 3rd and 1, and I think one thing people get caught up in getting stops on 3rd and 1. Here's the thing about 3rd and 1: the odds are drastically in the favor of the offense when you're talking about gaining a yard. So here's the thing: defensively, you want the stop, but you cannot absolutely, take your pants off and sell out to get the stop. Weird metaphor, but you get it. Look, what's the worst thing that can happen on 3rd and 1? It's not giving up the first down, it's giving up a touchdown. All right. They're on the 50-yard line. If they sell out and one guy trips, one guy doesn't get in the gap, something breaks loose, and Bell runs for 50 yards and a touchdown, we are in a totally different ball game. So it stinks. I would have liked to see, that's the big thing. I think people did their jobs very well. I don't like Pratt getting sucked up into that. I want to see him getting a read, and I want to see him playing. It's tough with Bell being the patient runner. For some reason, that's the only thing people like to talk about with him, and apparently he's the only person that can run like that. Just ask him. But anyway, I want to see him working both those gaps, working into either gap and filling rather than getting sucked up and kind of lost in the mucky muck of it all. All right, so Bell got the ball again right at the end of the first quarter. And it was a P and 10, first play of the possession of the third possession for the Jets. They were backed up on their own 8-yard line, and they came out with one tight end and Bell in the backfield. The Bengals had a 4-man front with 2 backers in the box, substituting the backers with Jordan Evans and Hardy Nickerson on the field. Get a little bit different look here with Hubbard at defensive end as well. So Hubbard's on the weak side. The tackle blocks out on Hubbard. And as opposed to some of what we've seen earlier, they are quickly releasing their center up to the linebacker. So what they're able to do here is pull a tackle around from the strong side and get him over the weak side to block Evans. And then they're releasing the center up for Hardy Nickerson. And it's big on big blocking up front. So now Evans fills with good speed, and he gets a nice little shot on the guy that really constricts the lane. I like to see him use his hands a little bit more and get off of it. Now maybe go make that tackle because Bell is right there. But he gets a shot on it. He uses some strength. Like I said, it makes it real tight. I just want to see him kind of take the next step with that. Which is good. We haven't seen much out of him. He hasn't gotten a lot of time this year, somewhat surprisingly. Now, Nickerson, he takes a step towards the strong side, and then comes right back. And I think, the step that Evans takes, that little hop step, it's obvious that it's coming back. That something's pulling around and it's going to be on that weak side, and that's why you see Evans feel straight forward. Nickerson gets that read pretty quickly too. But the center is up on him real fast. He struggles to get off that block. He eventually does get up there, he's near the tackle. He's involved in it. It's actually Dunlap who disregards the block of the tight end and gets in there and makes the tackle eventually. Want to see a little bit. You definitely want to see better look out of Nickerson. Evans pretty good, and as far as the front, a good job from the defensive line as well. All right, so Bell had another pretty good run in the second quarter, and again, it was a matter of calling a change up, a stunt in the defense at the wrong time, and it not really matching up. So they had again, a heavy personnel look. Really, three tight ends on the field, two tight ends, and an H back. And Lawson stunted from the what looked like the backside edge, stunted inside of that tight end into the C gap. And they brought Sean Williams off the edge. So with him inside, Sean Williams off the edge. Now, with him going inside, he's got to stay tight on this. The tight end releases and the tackle blocks down. He's coming free. And really, Lawson's got to stay tight. They get this H-back swiping across the formation. Lawson's got big eyes for that quarterback. He's thinking play action pass based on the angle that he takes. And he gets he gets this H-back coming across the formation and blocking out on him and cutting him, and it opens up a big lane for Bell underneath. So, really, he has got to stay tighter with that and be able to, bend down the line a little bit and take on that block. So that's really what opens up that seam of the defense, because that's really Lawson's gap right there. That's all on Lawson. All right, so that gets us into the third quarter. And again, we've got the Jets coming out in a heavy look, two tight ends and an H-back trying to run the football. The Bengals counter with a heavy defensive line group. Now, here, the second level defenders, they really struggle. And Sean Williams ends up going back. This is a disguise right away, and where he lines up, he ends up being a deep field defender. So late, Dennard comes in to the box, and Dennard steps up, and he gets absolutely pancaked by the H-back tight end coming through. Absolutely pancaked. And then you've got Jermaine Pratt, who's the Mike linebacker. What does he do on the snap? He stands up, he hops around a little bit. So just way too slow to flow with it. He's got to go. He's got to go. He's got to get moving, because that allows the tight end of that side to be able to get up to him and get engaged to the block. And one of the areas that he has struggled with this season is getting off blocks. So he needs to be faster. He needs to be able to strike, disengage, get off of that block. But despite that fact, that they are trying to hit it in a gap that is unoccupied, and that they are doing an excellent job on the second level defenders as an offense, this play goes nowhere. 2-yard gain. And it's two players really make it happen. So Hubbard is the edge player on that side. He is standing up on the edge. And this is really what he does very well, is playing that edge, holding edges. He has got a guard coming around. I believe that's a guard, might be a tackle. He's got an offensive lineman coming around to kick out on him. Yes, a guard. And he takes on that block, and he didn't move. He stones the guy. Boom. Stalemate right there. Doesn't get kicked out. Doesn't open up that big gap that they want for this. And then he's able to get off and get involved in the tackle. But he is not the only one. The other guy is Rennell Wren, who in this defense, he is playing inside, an inside technique on the tackle. We call that a 4-eye. All right. And he fights through that block, that down block, is able to get involved in the tackle as well. Now, Ren did a lot of really good things on film. He, I think, has a potential to be a real gem that they found late. You've seen them; they move him around, just like Brown, who they got a year before. They can move him around, play him in a lot of different spots on the defensive line. Personally, I think he has the potential to be an absolute stud as a zero technique if they went that route defensively. But this is a great job by these two young defensive linemen getting in there and really, making a huge play for a very short gain for the offense. So once again, the defensive line dominated on the very next down, and it ended up being a loss of one. So you've got a four-man defensive front with a tight end there, and Bates is actually plugged into the box as well. Vigil and Pratt also in there as linebackers. Now there's a motion that comes across the formation, and the backers flow hard with that motion. All right. So they flow hard. They get the motion. There's also a couple pullers going out there. It does not go to the jet sweep, though. It goes to Bell. All right. He does that little hop again. What does that mean? It means it's staying front side. All right. And, but, they overflow it. They're going wide as if it's going to the jet. And, really Pratt and Vigil end up out there not really doing much of anything. But we've got domination here on the defensive line. We've got Billings pushing his man back and really disrupting that backfield with penetration. Dunlap doing a little spin move, getting inside and getting involved in the tackle. And Geno Atkins, who is on the backside of this as the three technique. They pull the guard, the center blocks back on him, and he drives that center back, gets off when he wants to, and gets involved in that tackle as well. So excellent job by those three guys. Huge play to make a play in the backfield. Excellent work by that defensive line. All right, so a little bit later in the game, the Jets got the ball way backed up. They had a false start that only ended up being a 1 yard penalty because they're on the 2 yard line. So 1st and 11 on the 1 yard line. Again, looking at a pretty heavy personnel group, and the Bengals, complementing that, bringing in an extra defensive lineman, and Andrew Brown lined up on the tight end to the strong side. Really the first H-back. So they had a tight end, two H-backs. He lined up on the inside of the H-back, so the number two receiver, quote unquote, technically over there. And inside of him, we have a two-po. We have Billings. And in the box, Pratt is over to that strong side. Vigil is really in the middle, and Sean Williams is opposite him over on the weak side. Now they flow, or excuse me, they're filling really fast here from the linebacker position, which is what I've been wanting to see them go faster. But now they're really truly one gap in it and filling those gaps, especially on the strong side. So Pratt, Vigil really filling. You see the Jets do a pretty good job coming off of a double team and picking up Vigil as he's about to come screaming through. Really, who makes this play is Andrew Brown. And he's got a couple of guys trying to get on him. But he steps down hard, and he's got that H-back that he lined up on trying to step down. He's got the tight end actually right in there too. He fights through those guys, and he comes off and he makes that tackle. Another thing of note, now he's really the guy that made the play, but there's another guy that comes and gets involved in this tackle as well. And what he does is simply ridiculous, phenomenal, outstanding. And that is Billings. So Billings is also lined up on the strong side. He is in a 2-eye inside of the guard. And on the snap, he engages, right? He comes off, and this as this guard strikes on him, he just throws him. He just beats him over, and then he runs the ball and gets involved in this tackle as well. So, pretty impressive showing by our man Billings there. All right, so in the fourth quarter, lighter look on the field for the Bengals. They've got Carl Lawson in there. They've got Hubbard kicked down inside, which they were doing a lot last year, and it wasn't working that great. And they kind of got away from this year. They've been using him more as a hybrid linebacker. But then in recent weeks, they've started kind of doing it again. Here, they're running the ball in that direction and getting the light look. Vigil comes into the box late, shoots the gap, and is able to make the tackle. Ends up being a 3-yard gain, called back, however, for a holding. But, real good. Like, it's good seeing these guys play a little bit faster. And that's what we were talking about before. Want to see these backers really get up there and get involved in the play and really act fast to fill on some of these gaps. Pratt just a little bit. He's got the center free releasing to him, but kind of just taking that on too much instead of looking to fill hard, looking to bring the fight to the center. He's kind of catching it a little bit too much. Like the way that Vigil comes through the gap and takes it over there. It's a pretty good look. All right, so finally, another light look here. The Bengals still have two linebackers in the box with Pratt and Vigil. And this is just a zone replay. Hubbard does an excellent job on it, right? He slides down the line. So Hubbard's the quarterback player here, right? And he slides down the line, and once that ball's given off, he goes and he tackles it. And it ends up being a gain of 3 yards. But this is the unblocked guy. That's not his first responsibility. If that is your responsibility when you're playing the running back, you gotta go for it. But there's got to be somebody out there to play the quarterback. Hubbard's the quarterback player here. He slow plays it a little bit. This is why if the quarterback's not really threatening you with anything, you can make plays like this. So, and this is also why, like when you're running zone read, like what are you doing cutting back this far? Zone read is not designed to do that because nobody's going to be blocking that player. So you can cut it, you can cut it in here, but you can't play outside backside tackle. That guy's gonna make the play. So I don't know what they're teaching him. I don't know what they have him looking at, but it's not a normal under center zone play. You can't cut it back that far. You're gonna get tackled by that guy every time. So, all right. So that is a look at the run defense against Le'Veon Bell and the Jets this weekend. So definitely seeing some big time improvements here. So a positive moving forward, and something that they can definitely grow on and build on with this. Okay, the time has come. It is time to talk about Chase Young. The Bengals need to be aware of Chase Young at this point. They need to be doing their due diligence and following up on this guy. Now, before you scroll down in the comments and say, what are you talking about? We need a quarterback. Yes, I know. And honestly, whether we were picking first or top 5, I didn't think it was a huge deal a month or so ago when Tua was in the picture, and when you were looking at the Dolphins were probably going to take Tua if they were in front of us, and there's the other teams that don't need a quarterback. But so if we fell a couple, I'll be like, all right, well, I think Burrow could still be there. But things have changed, and Tua is one of the things that changed. So the Tua injury is is a concern. We got to figure that out. So before, Herbert had kind of fallen off. Now he's really fallen off a little bit. Still probably be a first round, but probably not somebody you're considering top five, maybe top 10. I wouldn't be shocked. But probably not a guy you're considering right at the top there. Red flags, some issues there. So Burrow, love the dude, love how he plays. There's some concerns there too. And those are things that are going to need to be worked out over the offseason. Maybe we see him in a bowl game. All-star game. By that, I mean, obviously, we're going to see him in a bowl game. We're going to see him in the college football championship here, but or playoffs at least. So, we're going to get more film on him, which is great. Hopefully, we see him against some different competition. That would be fantastic for the Bengals if the Bengals are able to coach at the Senior Bowl and they get to coach him. Even being on the other side, like being around him, that'll be a great experience. Because there are some concerns from his strength on deep balls to the one hit wonder setup we're looking at with him. So you got to think about that. And now Tua was to me a more of a sure thing. And I'm not saying he was a better prospect than Burrow per se, or that he could be a better pro. But I think if you ignore the injuries, Tua's a little bit more complete. I think he can make a few more throws. I think he's got a little bit more experience, a little bit more solid. Like if injuries weren't a concern, I would say Tua is a pretty sure bet. To be a good quarterback in the NFL for a long time. So you had that before. If you don't feel great about the Burrow eval, if you see some things that you don't want to do, the road that you don't want to go down with him, Tua was there. Now ankle injury turns into another ankle injury, turns into a hip injury. Now we've got real concerns with Tua, and obviously the medicals are going to keep going. And look, I have film. I don't get to see X-rays, and I wouldn't know what to do with them anyway. But I get film and I know what to do with film. So that's the thing is, people need to make those decisions. People need to figure that stuff out. It ain't me. So now Tua becomes a concern. And that means there's one guy up there. And if you don't like Burrow or if you don't get Burrow, that's a problem. So if you don't get Burrow, now the Bengals have a win. They still get a little buffer. They're still, picking first, but they're going to keep competing. They're probably going to win another game. All right. Maybe a couple. So what happens then? And look, hey, like I said before, you gotta do what you gotta do, and hope that the Giants and Redskins and Dolphins are winning games, and then you hold on to that number one spot. But they might not have it. So what happens if they don't? Okay, so a couple things here. Number one, if they don't, and let's say the Giants are picking number one, they got to take Chase Young, unless they absolutely hate Daniel Jones out of nowhere. They got to take Chase Young. Why would anybody pass on that guy? Like, he is fantastic. Like, he is a straight up dude. You don't find pass rushers like that. It's an extremely valuable position. You got to take that guy. So that gives you a buffer in that case. The Dolphins are a threat. Maybe the Redskins are. I don't know. Because we saw what happened with Arizona when they hired a new coach. If Redskins bring in a new coach and the guy's like, nope, I don't want Haskins. I want a guy to run a little bit. I want a guy who can do this or that, whatever it is. They may cut bait on Haskins. We don't know. So I don't trust them with it. But yeah, if it's one of those guys, then it's Burrow. So let's flip the script. Let's say the Dolphins get the number one pick. They take Burrow. What are you doing at two? Do you trust Tua? I'm not saying you shouldn't. Like I said, I'm not a doctor. I love the dude's film, but uh, if you don't trust Tua, it's Chase Young. It's Chase Young. You got to take that dude, and you got to have a backup plan. You got to figure it out. So you got Dalton under contract for another year. You take a swing at a guy like they kind of took a swing at Finley last year. Maybe you take a swing at Jordan Love or Eason or something. Like if somebody like that's around in round two or something, maybe you take a shot and then you regroup and you come back to it next year. But you can't pass on that dude. 2017 draft goods is a great example of that. And I did write about that for Cincy Jungle this week. So definitely check that out and kind of follows up. Look, the right quarterback, you got to get the right quarterback, period. All right. And if you've got a good quarterback and you can get a great one, you got to get him. That's exactly what the Chiefs do with Mahomes. Like they were fine with Alex Smith. Alex Smith was a good quarterback. They were probably a playoff team, pretty much every year with Alex Smith. But what are they with Patrick Mahomes? All right. So is Burrow that guy? Oh, like I'm still working on my opinion of that. Is Burrow that guy? Is Tua that guy? Is Herbert that guy? That's what it comes down to. You got to find that guy and go get that guy. And if it's not that guy, look, don't take a dude just to have a guy. Don't put somebody in that seat. And when people talk about, oh, you got to keep swinging. No, like don't waste draft picks rolling the dice. That's stupid. All right. If the guy isn't there, all right, you need to trust your scouts. You need to be good enough evaluators to know this. And I realize that NFL's track record with that isn't always that good. But look, you got to be better. All right. You got to be better than that. And if the dude isn't their quarterback and there's a elite pass rusher, offensive tackle could be, whatever, there's somebody there who's an absolute dude. Take the dude. Don't take a swing on a quarterback that you don't trust, that you don't believe in. Like you take a quarterback in round one, you are committing to that guy. Like go for it. All right? Take the dude, but don't take a dude. All right? Take the dude. Because otherwise, like look at the Bears. Look where the Bears are at. They didn't take the right guy. All right. And again, getting to that with the 2017 draft class, and where that fell down with Myles Garrett in that area, and Trubisky and Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson also in that draft. So you got to be smart evaluators. If the quarterback's the guy, if the guy quarterback is there, you got to take him. If he's not, don't. All right, don't do it. All right, make the right decision. Take the stud dude. So that's why we need to be talking about Chase Young. All right. We need to be talking about Chase Young because if you identify the quarterback that you need, get him. Go get him. And if you're not picking number one, figure it out and go get him. Like that's what you got to do. But if all else fails, or if you don't believe that guy's in this draft even, or if you miss out, it's Chase Young. Like you can't pass on Chase Young. They're not going to trade down. They're not going to trade down if Chase Young is there. They're going to take flipping Chase. They better take flipping Chase Young at that point, and they'll figure it out. I just want to get into that a little bit because I feel like I saw some like talk on Twitter. Oh, there's no way that people know the Bengals aren't going to take Chase Young. Yeah, they will. Of course they will. Are you kidding me? All right. if the quarterback they wanted in there, they're taking flipping Chase Young. You'd be crazy not to. And the quarterback thing, you figure it out. But trading down, picking up, that's not gonna do it for you. All right, you got to take that guy. So, hey, good week. All right, getting the big W. So moving forward, got the Browns coming up, and who knows what they are. All right, they're a lot. They've got some talent, but I mean, honestly, they had a lot of the same problems the Bengals did coming into the year. They just had a young quarterback and had spent some money, but line problems. Thought they had linebacker problems. They ended up having some guys step up at that spot, but winnable game. And it'll be interesting. We're going to get two shots at them in the next month here. So giddy up. So, all right. Well, I will be back here next Thursday and every Thursday talking Bengals, and we'll keep grinding it out. Uh, Getting there and getting that first win is huge for Zach Taylor and this staff, and hopefully something big time to grow on. So, see you next week.